Welcome back and let's start. So, Megha was to help us chant today. I think she's not yet joined.
I could help, ma'am, if
Who
you
was
need to
that?
begin. Vedika.
Yeah, please do. Sure. Yeah.
Can't hear you, ma'am.
Just a minute. I think the internet seems. I'm hanging. So, can you hear now?
Yes.
But my screen's hanging, so probably there is a slow connection. Screen shares not happening.
Oh.
Okay, you just follow me for now. I hope it returns back. Since you can hear, will you be able to follow just on hearing?
Yeah, I can try.
Here, it's come. Good.
Okay.
No, it's come. So you just got saved. I think so. No, doesn't look. You can see?
Not yet.
Already
Yeah.
showing. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, it doesn't look like a fifth class today. Does it look to anybody else? To me, it looks like we've been taking for so long. Hannah? I at least feel like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
एब्सोल्युटली दीप्ति जी बिल्कुल ऐसा ही लग रहा है
है ना?
हाँ
बड़ा लग नहीं रहा कि आज सिर्फ फिफ्थ क्लास है. And by God's grace, I think हमने काफी ground भी cover किया है. So that's very nice.
जी
So Vedika, follow.
Okay.
I do the Om because I think the audio here anyway switches off after a little chant of Om. It doesn't do the whole thing. So you start with Sahana Bhavatu.
Okay. Okay.
Sahana Bhavatu.
Sahana vavatu.
Sahanau Bhunaktu.
Sahanau bhunaktu.
सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै
Sah viryam karvavahai.
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
Tejasvinavadhitamastu.
तेजस्विना
Tejasvina.
तेजस्विनाव
तेजस्विनाव
हीतमस्तु
हीतमस्तु
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
मा विद्विषावहै
मा विद्विषावहै
ॐ
ॐ
शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Everyone also, after Shantihi, this dots is called this. We chant the Visarga as a half shell. shanti.
Deepti ji, we can't hear you.
Shanti, shanti. Now can you? Looks like someone has gone online. Can't hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you.
There is someone else whose still mic is on. Please switch off your mics, everyone. Why do we have to repeat this every? Now probably there will be no. So, shantihi, shantihi, shantihi. The visarga is followed by sha, so it gets chanted as a half sha. So it will become shanti, shanti, shantihi. This will be full. The last visarga will be full. Vedika, can you chant?
Yeah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Shanti, shanti, shantihi.
Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Once more. Om Sahana Vavatu.
Sahana Bhavatu.
Sahanau Bhunaktu.
Sahanau Bhunaktu.
Sahaviryam Rava.
Sahaviryam Karva.
Vahai.
Vahai.
Sahaviryam Karava. Vahai.
Sahaviryam Karva Vahai.
Tejasvinavadhitamastu.
Tejasvinavadhitamastu.
These words, Tejasvi Navadhitamastu. Tejasvinavadhitamastu.
Tejasvinavadhitamastu.
Ma vidvishavahai.
Ma vidvishavahai.
Om Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Vasudeve.
Vasudevendra.
Yogindram.
Yogendram.
Yogin.
Yogendram.
Natva Jnanapradum Gurum.
Natva Jnanapradam Gurum.
Mumukshurnam Hitarthaya.
Mumuksham hitarthaya.
Mumukshurnam Hitarthaya.
Mumukshunam hitarthaya.
Tattva Bodho Bhidhiyate.
Tattva Bodho Bhidiyate.
Vasudevendra Yogindram.
Vasudevendra Yogendram.
Natva Jnanapradum Gurum.
Natva Jnanapradam Gurum.
Mumukshurnam Hitarthaya.
Mumukshunam hitarthaya.
Tattva Bodho Bhidhiyate.
Tattva Bodho Bhidiyate.
शुद्धं निराभासम्
नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासम्
नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासम्
नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासम्
निराकारं निरञ्जनम्
निराकारं निरञ्जनम्
नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दम्
नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दम्
गुरुं ब्रह्म नमाम्यहम्
गुरुं ब्रह्मा नमाम्यहम्
गुरुं ब्रह्म नमाम्यहम्
गुरुं ब्रह्मा नमाम्यहम्
नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासम्
नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासम्
निराकारं निरञ्जनम्
निराकारं निरञ्जनम्
नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दम्
नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दम्
गुरुं ब्रह्म नमाम्यहम्
गुरुं ब्रह्मा नमाम्यहम्
Not Brahma, it's just Brahma. Brahma. Gurum Brahma Namamyaham.
गुरुं ब्रह्मा नमाम्यहम्
So we will start with this verse. Take a minute to tune in because the topic is a little subtle now. Basically, it is seen at two levels, this verse. One level is the relative level, which is the apparent level, which is when you just do the simple translation, you will get the apparent, real, relative meaning. And the translation of this will be, I bow down to Brahman as the Guru, who is eternal, Nityam, who is pure, Shuddham, who is freed of false appearances, Nirabhasam, who is formless, Nirakaram, who is stainless, Niranjanam, who is ever known, Nitya Bodham, who is of pure consciousness and joy, Chidanandam. Such a Guru as Brahman, put it the other way, Brahman as the Guru, who is described with these, they are not attributes, but as closely as possible, indicated through these words. So this is the simplest meaning, and each word can be explained at this level. But there is, because the verse is Namaskar being done to Brahman as the Guru. And these are all the terms used to indicate what is that nature of Brahman. To indicate what is Brahman. What would you call it? Would you call it what? Would you call it who? Would you call it what? How? When something that you cannot comprehend, when something that you cannot grasp, when something that you cannot perceive, Vedanta has the challenge of communicating that to the other who, in the drishti of Vedanta, Advait Vedanta, is also the same Swarupam as Brahman is. This is the final most. By the time we reach the end of Tattva Bodha, this is what is going to be the attempt to grasp this Vakyam. the Vakyam that the nature of you, the individual, and the nature of Bhagwan, God, Ishwar, whatever name you want to give it, nature is Brahman, whose nature is what? That means there is a Aikyam drawn, Ekatvam drawn between the nature of the unseen but suspected, unseen but suspected, and therefore has many names and interpretations, that unknown factor which seems to be the joining factor of creation, that nature, my nature as an individual, and the nature of the world that I perceive as separate from me. So at another level, these words in the second interpretation or in the second way of explaining and seeing the verses, when you take these words as indicative of Brahman itself. So I am taking one word at a time, starting from the subtle one, because subtle will be a little more difficult to grasp. Better to go through the difficult process first, because the easy will anyway be easy after that. So if you take a little repetition, doesn't matter, but this is following the procedure of with Upanishads teach the students, where the highest is given first. Nityam word we were seeing yesterday, its actual translation is only eternal. So in a simple way, if I were to just say, I bow down to Brahman as the Guru, in other words, my Guru is non-distinct from his absorbed knowledge. That means that he sees the knowledge, so he's Brahman himself, and therefore the quality is Nityam, eternal. Knowledge is eternal, Brahman is eternal, and it is fine. But if you go a layer deeper, Vedanta is all about bringing us to be thinking more acutely, developing the capacity to acutely examine things, to find out what it is, what its nature is. If you go a layer deeper, ask, what does the word eternal mean to us, really speaking? अगर आपने सुन लिया ब्रह्मन नित्यम है, उसका नेचर नित्यम है, उस नित्यम को हम नमस्कार करते हैं. You will feel you have understood. But if you go a layer deeper, ask yourself, what does eternal mean? मैंने किसको नमस्कार किया? Eternity का मतलब क्या है? Do humans, does a human intellect grasp eternity? Do we actually perceive infinity? Do we understand? Can our intellects project infinity, eternity? And you realize, no, there is a limitation. Therefore, for a non-discerning student, it will seem very fine. हो गया, समझ में आ गया, नमस्कार कर दिया, because it's a vyavharik drishti. My doing a namaskar is vyavharik. Done it, fine. But actually speaking, I don't know what eternity is. That means the knowledge failed to communicate to me what is Brahman. Because by giving me the word Brahman, anyway it is beyond my intellect. मुझे नहीं पता ये word क्या है. I have never heard it before I came to a Vedanta class. I do not know what Brahman is. The teacher tells me that the Shastra tells us that the world and its base, there's only one truth, and that truth is Brahman. Now I have to relearn everything from the beginning, because I have never heard the word Brahman. I've heard space, I've heard air, I've heard fire, I've heard water, I've heard earth. I've heard so many things about creation, but I had never heard the word Brahman. I've heard Brahma. Brahmaji is the creator of the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. But Brahman word was never heard before. So if the text, if the study, if Vedanta just goes by telling me Brahman is Nityam, and Nityam means eternal, Hamesha, always there. That word is as equivalent as Brahman, because eternity I can't grasp. I hope you get that point. Brahman word I do not know. But in the process of describing Brahman, communicating Brahman as the nature of oneself, if the scripture describes it to say Brahman's nature is Nityam, Nityam itself word I don't understand. So now I have two words that I don't understand, because my intellect, human intellect, it's nothing to do with the person. Human intellect cannot understand eternity. It will only work in the levels of limitation. It can project through inference. It can bring about many layers of inferences, but infinity is not going to be an inference. It can only project it, but it cannot comprehend it. If you don't comprehend it, it remains a theory. It remains just words. So to explain what is eternity, yesterday we saw that science is struggling to understand, is this universe going to be eternal? Because our own experience of ourselves so far gives us two notions. One notion is that I feel the life here has always been, will always remain, I come and I go. मेरा जन्म है, मेरी मृत्यु है, I am here for a short time, and in this short time, I am there, alive, existent. Life continues. World continues. World continues. For how long? Nobody knows. So science has been trying to figure out the nature of the world. In figuring it out, one of the theories it has come up with is that the world started with a big bang 13 billion years ago. Big bang means Visfot hua. That Visfot held all the potential material, matter, and that matter is constantly expanding, so the universes are expanding. First question here, whatever has a beginning, can it be eternal? Because it has begun. What has a beginning anyway goes out of eternity, because it means it began, before that it was not, whereas eternal means it ever is. So what has begun is definitely also going to end. That means the next question the scientists are coming to quest is, will this expansion be eternally there? And we saw that they are concluding that they doubt very much if this is going to be an eternal expansion. And what the scientists have come to the conclusion that they suspect that within next 3.7 billion years, there is a 50% chance that time will end. If time has been a measure of two events, that means they are measuring time from the standpoint of where Big Bang started. And they are saying that there is a 50% chance. We have already lived through 13 billion years, another 3.7 billion years, and this event can end. That means they are, just as we see an individual birth and death, the universe is being seen as beginning and ending. Then where is the idea that we have of it being always there? If we ask, we may be in a change, life may have evolved, life may have changed, give 100,000 theories, doesn't matter. But if you ask yourself in your mind, have you ever suspected that there is going to be no existence? That there will be cessation of all forms of existence? For existence to not be there at any point of time, one cannot comprehend that. The notion seems very alien. Imagination में भी थोड़ी दिक्कत आती है. Imagination, we are not saying understanding. Imagination is different from actually intellectual projection and understanding. Even in imagination, it seems very difficult to bring my mind to an acceptance that there'll be nothing at some point. There was nothing and there'll be nothing. It becomes very difficult. That means Vedanta is addressing this existence that we feel is there by bringing it in connection to time, because time, when they say it's nitya, means it always is, it's free of division. There is no past, there is no present, there is no future. It is free of all this. And being free of the division, it is in a state of you call it no event. Means it always is. There was no beginning, but there is something, and it has no end. This existence, because it is free of time, and for time there must be something there with reference to which we are seeing must be, that is ever there. What is ever there is called Sat. Sat is another word for existence in its pure form. I will not go into too much depth at this point because we are still in invocation. And here our attention is still to be Namami Aham. I am just doing my namas. It's a mental attitude. It's a prayer. It's an upasana. But I am introducing this so that you understand the level at which the Vedanta will want to deliver to a student. Nityam will be one of the lakshanas with which it describes Brahman. As we said yesterday, there are two methods with which it describes. I will touch upon them. Details we'll do later when the portions come. The two methods are, one is called Swarupa Lakshana. Other is called Tatastha Lakshana. These are methods to grasp. Grasp means only intellectually get clear in the idea. It doesn't mean you will perceive Brahman as an object. You are only going to intellectually grasp the idea. To grasp that idea, two methods are employed. Lakshana means pointer, indicator. Like fever is an indicator of some infection. It's a pointer. It can be any infection. It can be anything. The body is in disharmony with its own natural state. Fever is only an indicator to saying that the body is in disharmony with its natural state. To indicate that means I will have to further examine it. Two approaches are there. Swarupa means the very nature. Describing something in terms of its nature. And nature by itself is defined as something which cannot change further. Whatever can change cannot be the nature of the substance. A nature by definition means Swarupam. Uska swarup kya hai? Means uska inherent nature, intrinsic nature, जिसके बिना वो नहीं रहेगा. Like the example best is, if I blindfold you, I wanted to bring but I didn't have it. Supposing I have a rose over here. Of course you can't, but if it was a physical class, I blindfold you and you are blindfolded in the room. And I enter the room with a bunch of roses in my hand. I have yet not approached you, but you have begun to smell the fragrance. By the mere fragrance, before I even say what is in my hand, you can confirm, you can with conviction, you can be undoubted to say you have roses in your hand. Which means what? The rose has its nature, intrinsic quality which is unique to it. That fragrance of the rose is unique to the rose and is different from mogra, from jasmine. It is different from it. Rose is called rose because of its unique fragrance. Jasmine is jasmine because of its unique fragrance. What if you remove the fragrance from it? and I bring a bunch of sunflower in my hand, and you're still blindfolded, will you be able to say that you have brought roses? No, you can't say that, because you just don't know if I have anything in my hand also. Sunflower is not going to give you any smell. It has its own uniqueness. Nature of a thing is that because of which it is, without which it ceases to be what it is. It'll change its it'll change. वो चीज ही नहीं रहेगी अगर उसमें से वो चीज निकाल दी जाए. When an object is defined through its inherent nature, without which it ceases to be that object. Example, another example, and this is a famous traditional example. If I ask you, what is that which is got the most light and heat, brightest and hottest amongst all objects that give light and heat? You don't have to see anywhere. I say, okay, I have a candle, I have a diya, I have a tube light, I have a neon light, I have a LED light, I have a floodlight, I have substation light, substation as in space station light. I have, but I'm asking you, I have fire, a conflagration of fire, and my question is, of all the sources of light and heat, which is it that has maximum light and maximum heat? What will the answer be? Sun. Sun is known for its light and heat in its optimum. Every other source gets its light and heat dependent on it. It does not, sun doesn't need another sun to light it. Sun has the light and heat intrinsic in it. It's its intrinsic quality. Whereas if I have a torchlight in front of me and I ask you, is this torch, the light from the torch, intrinsic to the torch? What will your answer be? You can nod your heads. What will the answer be? No. Why? Because the torchlight is not intrinsic to the torch. It is dependent on the battery or on the electricity. Now, if I don't have the battery, the torch is a redundant, it's a play for my child. He can play with it and kuch nahi hoega. Na koi light aayegi, na kuch hoega. Kuch bhi nahi hoga. Because the source of light is actually from the very battery in it. Now, Nityam word is a word which is giving Swarupa Lakshana. Means it is the very nature of Brahman. Eternity, I cannot grasp. Human intellect cannot grasp because it is another word for Brahman. Brahman, if I cannot grasp, eternal I cannot grasp. But how will I understand eternal? What is the point? As I just said in the introduction today, if you give me two words which can be replaced with each other, neither makes sense to me. I can be called a Jnani because now I know two words, but I don't know their meaning. And nobody will know that I don't know the meaning, but everybody will think I'm a very wise person because I can now say two words that nobody else can say easily. I say Brahman with conviction and I say Brahman is Nityam, and nothing happens to me because I don't understand either word, really speaking. Now, to make us understand this, Vedas and Vedanta in particular, and the Sampradaya, here we are talking of Advaita vision. This Sampradaya gives us a method. And the method is, while Swarupa Lakshan is a direct indicator of the nature of Brahman, Tatastha Lakshana is the indirect indicator. Indirectly, it draws my attention to it. What is a Tatastha? Like yesterday we said, Tat means bank. Stha means existent. Means Tatastha means that which is seen in the light of something which is transient and moving. The river moves, is ever in a change, flux, movement. In the movement of that, I see the bank. So I am able to see the movement, and I am able to see that the bank is not moving. When I draw the connection between the bank and the river, if I'm already in the river and I see no bank, like it happens in seas and in oceans, and especially when there are high tides and there are rough seas, I see no tat. And I see no tat, everything is moving. My idea, experience of that movement, and I don't see a tat. Tatastha means I see something which is actually indicated through something which is transient and moving. There are two traditional examples, and in modern times, now recent times, especially when there are a lot of Westerners that take to this study also, there is another third modern example, which I'll give you the last. What is Tatastha Lakshana? It is defined as, Tatastha Lakshana is defined as first, when an object is defined through a temporary or an incidental feature, which is not its inherent nature. That means when I'm defining it with the help of something which is not its nature. In the example of Swarup, I'm defining an object with the help of its own intrinsic nature. But in Tatastha Lakshana, I'm defining the object through something which is temporary or an incidental feature, which is not its inherent nature. For example, supposing on a cloudy night, these are traditional examples. Supposing in a cloudy night, okay, on a very clear night, very, very clear night, and somewhere near where the skies are absolutely clear and you see thousands of stars. You can imagine those northern zone areas where the whole sky is lit with stars. And there is a new moon starting. Just the new moon. And in that entire sky full of stars, the person with you says, oh, look there, look at the new moon. Look at the moon, my God, it's getting lost in all the stars. You can't differentiate that new moon. New moon means when it's just beginning after the Amavasya. Just look at that. It is seen there, and you keep looking everywhere like that and say, kahan hai, kahan hai, kahan hai? And they keep pointing, but you can't see. So then this wise person says, what is the point? How do I draw your attention to the moon? He sees in the far horizon, not very far, but in the horizon in your vicinity, he sees there is a tree which is there who's dried up, whose twigs are moving toward, because the distance is so much, it's looking at a horizon, and those twigs seem to be touching the sky. The tree seems to be just as the sky is the backdrop as if of the tree. Imagination is also so beautiful. The tree is in front and the sky is the backdrop. Now the person with you says, oh, look at the tree, and the tree is more evident to you because it's right there in front of your eyes and it's a bigger object, something closer to you. You say, yes, I can see the tree. He says, as you see the tree, do you see the branch moving to the right? Follow that. And your eyes start following that. And then it says, okay, there you see, go keep furthering along that branch and you see there is the shakha, division there. The branch further divides into two branches, shakha there. And you say, I can see. He says, just beyond the left shakha, stretch your eyes onto the skies. And when you stretch there, you see, now I see. When you say, now I see, can you hear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Diptiji.
So when you say, now I see, now this tree is not the intrinsic quality of the moon. The tree is an incidental, temporary object that you took aid of to draw the attention to something which you really wanted to convey. and which was already there. This is an example. One example. Second example is actually from Mundaka Upanishad. And this is a very beautiful example which conveys how the nature of everything here is the same as the nature of Brahman. Here we are saying direct is Nityam. If to say it is Nityam, he says, take the example of a bonfire. You know, we have all gone camping, and when we go camping, especially in our teenage days, and camping, and from that bonfire, and then there's a lot of dance and drama happening around that bonfire, and you know for sure if the fire lifts off, your camp is over. So you make sure that the fire continues for long, and when it is about to subside, there are sparks that fly off. The sparks that fly off, Upanishad gives you. Upanishad gives this example, and it says the sparks in a bonfire have the same light and heat as the conflagration of fire. Which means when I see the sparks separated out from the fire, this is the main fire and you see all sparks everywhere, you think they are distinct, they are separate. The Upanishad says that spark has the same light and the same heat that the entire fire has. In other words, fire, whether it is in the conflagration or in the spark, has the same nature as it has in the sun. Fire is fire. Now, by saying this example, it has drawn a very beautiful connection between all life forms and the truth. Means the life principle that runs here in me is the same life principle that runs in every life form. And this life principle is actually the same as that which supports this life. This is how indirectly it will communicate. A good example of it is, I'll touch upon this, but this is really in depth, which we will do at some other point in more details. Today, I will only touch on the words. The final way in which it wants to say, what is Nityam? To draw that example, it gives, take the example of golden ornaments, the last line in this slide. Start with the example gold and ornaments. When you have, आप जौहरी के पास जाते हो और आप उसको कहते हो, show me something in gold. You just say something in gold. Jauhari looks at you, hopefully with a blank face, and says, something means, what do you want? Be specific. आपको क्या चाहिए? Then you say, think about it, and you say, okay, give me, say, necklace. Or something simpler, say, give me bangles or a ring. Anklets, give me anklets, gold anklets. Jauhari brings out all the anklets he has of the gold. They are all different designs. Your attention is on the anklet. This anklet is actually modification or transformation or a shape, not a modification. It's a shape. It's a shape of its intrinsic material with which it is made. And that material is gold. So whether it is a bangle or a necklace or an anklet or a ring or earrings, all of them are only different forms and having different names, but the material source of all of it is the same, which is gold. When the material source is the same, you have drawn a connection between the material of the ornament and made a difference between the name and the form of the ornament. When I go for a bangle, I'm not seeing, my attention is on the design, on the weight, on the shape, on the size. My attention is all on that because I've asked for gold bangle. My attention is in all of this. But when I am to see it, when he starts to charge me, he will not charge me for just the design. he's charging me for what? What is he charging me for, anyone? What do you think is he charging me for?
Weight.
The gold,
Of
the
Weight.
weight of the
Weight.
of of what?
gold, of the gold,
Simple.
the gold.
The gold.
He's charging me for the weight of the material.
Gold. Gold is what he's charging us for, right?
Exactly. Gold is what he's charging us for. Now, what is the material's value is what he's charging us for, along with other incidentals. That is besides the point. But the value of it is with the material with which it is made. Now, this material is not just exclusive to this, it can be made into anything. So when you see gold is the material cause of all the ornaments, many ornaments can be made. That means all ornaments have become effects. Cause is gold, ornament is an effect. You can make anything out of gold. You make a vase, a gold vase. In olden days they had. Or we have silver plates जिसमें हम खाना खाते हैं. I don't know if they're gold plates, but silver plates तक तो we know. We have silver glasses, silver plates. Imagine you're wearing silver on your hand, you're wearing silver in your ears, and you're having with a silver katori and a silver glass, and you're having your food on a silver. All of this is silver. That means silver is the cause. Effects have got multiplied. The
So,
cause
Dipti,
has.
sorry to interrupt.
One
Are
minute,
we
one
all
minute.
the effects? We are
No.
all effects as human beings?
1 minute. Let me finish this. So questions only later. It's too early to conclude like that. You've not yet heard the full thing. By the time I finish this, you will get your answer yourself. And otherwise, we'll take it up later. So, what was I saying?
Quality and attributes.
Silver is the cause. Yeah.
So, Brahman is gold is the cause, and the cause has the potential for it to express as anything. But important point is, gold can exist as gold without becoming anything. It doesn't need to become a bangle. It doesn't need to become. It can remain as a pure chunk of gold. So the existence of gold and the existence of the ornament, if you compare the two, you realize that the existence of ornament has a dependent existence on its material cause, which is gold. But gold has an independent existence to all its effects, which is all the instruments. So what is the connection between gold and the ornaments? Ornament cannot exist without it being in gold. In here, gold ornament. Ornament can exist per se with another material, but referring to the example alone. Ornament, to it be a gold bangle, has to have gold with it. The bangle's existence is dependent upon the gold. But gold's existence is not dependent upon the bangle. Gold is independent. That which is an independent existence is relatively, in this example, more valuable than that which has a dependent existence. And what has more valuable here means it sustains in all periods of time, whether you make it a bangle, whether you make it melt it and you make it another, and then you melt it and make it another. The gold is sustaining through all the transformations. That independent existence is, Vedanta calls it Sat, pure existence. Independent existence is pure existence. Means it needs nothing else for it to be there. This connection between cause as gold in relation to the ornament. A gold, when it exists by itself, despite it becoming anything, cannot be called in a relation with its effect. Gold is gold. It is existent. But when you see an ornament, then there is a connection between gold and the ornament now. That connection is called Karya Karana Sambandha. Here. Karya Karana Sambandha. This is actually the correct meaning. Cause and effect may still confuse you a bit. I have taken it only to help you to get familiar with the term Karya and Karana. Karya means effect. Karana means cause. In the example of gold and ornaments is the Karya. Karana is gold. What is the Lakshana, Tatastha Lakshana? Tatastha Lakshana is this Sambandha. With the help of this Sambandha, it draws our attention to the independent existence of the very material source. Material means the very Karana. Karana will remain independent. Cause, Karana, has an independent existence. It's called Satyam. But effect has a dependent existence. Don't worry about the word Satyam and Mithya at the moment. Just understand the principle. What has got an independent existence and what has a dependent existence? Whatever has an independent existence is called Nityam. And what has got a dependent existence is called Anityam. Anityam. जो नित्य नहीं है, the Sanskrit word also pay a little attention to. Nityam अगर हमने use किया है, that means that which is always there. Independent existence in all periods of time. Anityam is not another substance. Anityam only means जो नित्य नहीं है. Means it is there now, it is not there later. Ornament is here now, is not there later. But even when the bangle loses its bangleness, gold remains. This connection, when it draws, by saying Brahman is Nityam, to convey it, I'm going to go back. This goes back. When you say Nityam, what the Shastra is now telling us is, this Karya Karana Sambandha is the Tatastha Lakshanam that it first introduces. As what? As saying, Brahman is the Karanam of Jagat. First step. Brahman is the Karanam of Jagat. Jagat includes you, who sees yourself as a part of coming in and coming out. The world exists, I come in. So you are included in Jagat now, which means Brahman is Karanam, Jagat is Karyam. If Jagat is Karyam, it is manifold. Karanam has the potential to be seen as many. Gold has the potential to be seen as many. Brahman is Nityam. It is independent existence, seen as many. And all the many that you see here are in essence only dependent for its existence on this one, which is Brahman. Means all creation has no independent existence. The creation is a changing process. But The changing processes with the cannot be there if there is no changeless material of it. If gold does not remain changeless, imagine every time you transformed it into another ornament, what would happen to gold? Gold would transform itself. Therefore, the object would remain as a gold bangle only once if it is a gold bangle. And then the gold would have changed. If it changes, then you cannot have another instrument out of it, ornament out of it. That one is Brahman, Nityam, the very independent existence which is time free, free of all time. Whereas world, universe is seen to be in time. Our life is seen to be in time. Whatever is seen and recognized in time has a dependent existence and is not independent. This is what it wants to draw its attention, our attention. That means there is something which is an independent existence of which I am unaware of today. I am unaware that my source, my swarup, my bangle is unaware that it is made of gold, and gold is independent. If bangle is to get that knowledge, just imagine when bangle is put in fire to dissolve it, to be made into something. अगर बैंगल जीव होता, nice, we can imagine. अगर ये बैंगल जीव होता और वो जा रहा था अग्नि में, तो उसके अंदर क्या होता? Just as when we are put into some sorrows and sufferings, what all we go through? All the insecurity, all the fear, all kinds of emotions, everything that will happen to us at that time, supposing bangle is going through it. At that time, bangle is suddenly told, don't worry, even if you lose your form of bangle, you will not lose your existence as gold. Supposing, just imagine, bangle is said, you can lose your existence as a form, but you cannot lose your existence as gold. What would happen to bangle immediately? Anybody? Answer. Someone answer. What will happen to bangle at that time? One word answer I'm looking at. It will be liberated.
Feel,
Not pain. It will be
feel
liberated.
reassured.
Reassured, correct. Reassured, it will be liberated means all that it is going through,
It will be at peace.
it will be at peace. All that it is going through is only apparently there because it just doesn't know what its swarupam is. Minute the bangle knows its swarup, everything falls in place. The form has to go. The form cannot be eternal. The swarup cannot go. It is never non-eternal. It is only eternal. Getting that knowledge of what is eternal and what is not with the help of this prakriya. And as you have to remember the orientation classes and the first classes, and those who have not done the first classes, better to go through the first classes because we are building up. So it is a study, it is a very systematic process of unfolding the knowledge. It's not an erratic, it's not just an inspiring lecture. It is not something which is just information. It is a process of building the sight. To get that sight, internal sight. Now starts the process. Once a person has, now when you get more material, you know that Nityam would always mean my Swarupam. And if I know this much, but I have still not done Mananam of it, Nididhyasanam of means I still don't understand how I am Nityam, and I still see myself as a form, and I'm still fearful of death, and I'm still fearful of suffering, and I'm still fearful of all that. That means the knowledge is not yet fully digested. I'm better than completely ignorant person, but I have not completed my knowledge. Therefore, this verse, I'm concluding myself, this verse is giving us, one is just a relative thing. I bow down to Brahman as the Guru because anyone who gives me knowledge, all knowledge is sourced back to Brahman, means it's sourced back to its, there is all knowing. He'll say Nitya Bodham. As you will begin to connect the words very soon. This Nitya Bodham alone can be the one which is the giver of knowledge. It is not a product of intellectual processing. So this inclusion of this verse means this person has been careful to make this prayer. Principle that he has employed is that whatever you pray to in terms of qualities of that, so if you're praying to Hanuman, the qualities of Hanuman is what you are seeking and you abide by. If you pray to Shiva, etc. By praying to Brahman as this, because this is Brahma Vidya, Tattva Bodha, he has put in this prayer very beautifully. He, she, whatever, whoever, this teacher has been, Pathantaram has been deliberately done so that we contemplate upon these words. And as you contemplate upon them, you see the truth of them. Therefore, as a prayer in the initial stage, he is also invoking the capacity of the prayer. That means what I pray to is what I in time become. Same way, if I'm praying to Brahman as this, in time, I hope to also see Brahman as myself. Means these qualities I recognize as my Swarupa. So with this, I think for today, there is a lot of grasp, and I'll just end the class here first. And then if you have any questions, we'll take that up. And these words we will continue in the next class. So first, we'll just do the invocation. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Yate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti